Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Birmingham Bible Church's Winning Wednesday. That's right, it is 12 noon, and this is our Winning Wednesday. And so, of course, every Wednesday at 12 noon, we like to bring you some very important and very vital information that you can use. And boy, are you in for a treat on today. I am so excited because parents, you are going to love this information. Guardians, grandparents, you're going to want to listen to this information on today. And listen, make sure you share it with someone on today as well. We are getting ready and gearing all of our children to go back to school. Some of them have already started as soon as a couple of days ago. And so y'all know how we do it. We getting school supplies and getting the outfits and getting hair braided and done and all that good stuff, going to the doctor, getting shots. And so we also not only are doing that, of course, last weekend, we had some great speakers to come on and to talk about how our children can go back to school in excellence. And so make sure you go back and watch that as well. But we want to speak to the children who are especially in high school. They're trying to make decisions about what to do next. Don't know if they want to go in the military, go to tech school. They're trying to make a lot of decisions. They're trying to decide if they want to go to college or not. If they have enough money to stay in college. College is expensive, so it is a lot to factor in to determine. The cost of a college, it varies if it's in-state, if it's out of state, if it's private, if it's public. The name alone, going to Yale is pretty costly. And so there's a lot to consider. Students are having to make decisions. If I really should go to college, you have a lot of children who are able to get those full athletic scholarships, and some are not. They have those great scores, and they have the ability to be able to learn and be able to compete in college, but funding is an issue. And so a lot of kids who are in college and who are in high school are wondering, okay, can I go to college and not have all of this debt when I get out of school? Are there scholarships available? Are there grants available? Well, I don't have a clue, but I know who does. And so today we have Miss Chata Spikes. We've had her on here before. She is super sweet, super smart. I always love talking to her. When I talk to her, it's like a 30-minute conversation because we just start talking and talking. She's an awesome person. She works for the Atlanta Police Department in the communications area. She can talk to you more about that. She is queen of paparazzi, queen of it. But she knows her stuff when it comes to getting scholarships, whether you're in high school, whether you're in college right now, whether you're a graduate student, maybe there's something out there for you. So she's going to talk to us a little bit about that. So please welcome Miss Chata Spikes. Hello, Miss Chata.
Hello, hello, hello. I am extremely excited about being able to join everybody because I have been that person who had to pay for school. And I'm going to start off by just telling you a little bit about myself. Now, I'm in my 40s. That doesn't make me old. So all the kids, I still know what I'm talking about. I've been out of high school for a while, but I've been a college professor. And like Lady Pam said, I work for the City of Atlanta Police Department, but I came there by way of my business, Spike Communications, and I'm the owner of the 5 Buck Jury Truck. But I'm here to talk to you about scholarships. So when I left high school, I left with a lot of scholarships. So literally just today I went upstairs and I still have some of my scholarship letters. I still have all of that information. And yes, I'm not a pack rat, but those things are important to me. But when I left my high school, I was in the top 5 of students who had scholarships. And these aren't scholarships that just came from academics, but these were scholarships I found on my own. And that's going to be important for a lot of students to know. And back when I was in school, I had to go to the library. The internet was kind of new, but now you have everything at your fingertips. You have everything you need in your phone, everything you need that you need access to. Now, finding scholarships can be easy for some people and difficult for others. Let me just say this. I've worked with companies and they are literally like, we just want to give away money because they have so many students who oftentimes don't even apply. And I was one of those students who ended up getting more than I was slated to get because the company said it was prudential. Actually, the insurance company said students didn't apply. So there are traditional and non-traditional methods and ways to get money for school. Of course, the traditional methods are just paying out of pocket, but the average middle income household like mine, either your parents make too much for you to get assistance, but not enough for them to afford to pay out of pocket. So that puts you in a lot of young people in a really strange space because your parent can't just go and write a check for you, especially if you're attending a private school. I started out at Clark Atlanta University, and tuition, it was expensive then, it's even more now. So I want you all to understand that finding scholarships is a job for students. So if you are a high school student, especially if you're a junior and a senior, it's important to start the process. Many of you are going back to school in August. Go ahead and start the process. But I want to just tell you some things that you need to know when it comes to scholarships and it comes to you. Go ahead and write a letter that talks about you, who you are, what you do, what your aspirations are. Tell people what you want to become, why you do what you do as far as the organizations you're in. You can get scholarships for being a cheerleader. You can get scholarships for community service. I got several for community service. And speaking of community service, if you're doing things right there in your church, at Birmingham Bible Church or any other church that you attend, if you're doing community service, if you sing in the choir, that's a form of community service. If you're an usher, but here's what I need you to do. I need you to keep track of the hours that you put into it. So that means if you're singing every Sunday, or if you're ushering every Sunday, if you are part of the food ministry, you teach Bible study, or you work in children's church, you need to keep up with those hours. And you need to ask your pastor or whomever is in charge of that ministry to write a recommendation letter for you. So one thing I did, and I'm going to schedule with Lady Pam to come back and actually do a hands-on workshop. And with that workshop, I would like for the kids to be present. And we may have to do it like on a Saturday to make the kids available, because I know they're getting ready to go back to school, but want to make sure that the students and parents are available. So here's what I want you to think about doing. Create your own chart. The chart just has of course, your name and information at the top, in one column, what the organization is, the second column, what you did, the third column, the dates and the hours. You total that up and keep up with that. And even if you got to kind of think back, if you know that you have a meeting with an organization every month at the same time, or you all have a project, just go back and keep up with that. Create your own community service chart. Another thing that I would like for you to think about doing, in addition to, I told you to write a letter. That letter tells you about you, because you're going to end up using that same letter for a lot of scholarships. Most of them are asking for the same things. They want to know who you are, what it is you want to do, what you want to be, what you want to major in. There are scholarships for certain majors. There are scholarships for being left-handed, right-handed, for having deceased parents, having parents in the military. There are so many scholarships, even scholarships if you have a learning disability. if you're differently abled. So there are opportunities out there. There are traditional opportunities, traditional scholarships, which are academic, which are athletic. But here's what I need you all to know about some of those scholarships. College has extra expenses. And some scholarships that you may get from some universities may not cover books. You may have one book that may cost over $100, and your scholarship may not cover that. You may have lab fees that cost. You may have things that you need, personal items that you need. And some scholarships, when you get the scholarship, after you have paid for everything, you end up getting that money. So you're talking to somebody who, when I left college, something I did that a lot of people I know who got scholarships, when I had the excess money, I saved it. I'm sitting in the home that I bought with scholarship money. So my scholarship money was also my down payment money for my house. So anything that was left over, I got to keep. But instead of spending it, I saved it. And I know especially if you go to a historically Black college or university, you're going to want to go to the games and you're going to want to be fly. You want to look cute. You want to look handsome. Don't spend all your money on things like that. You want to buy the top of the line car, just get a regular car. Don't spend all your money. But what I want you to do is think about your academics. Get all of your grades together. There are scholarships for C students. So I don't want anybody to be discouraged. A lot of students get discouraged because they're like, well, I'm not in the top 10% of my class, or I'm not an all A's, all B student. There are scholarships for C students. There are scholarships for students that are just based on your character. And some ministries, some churches have scholarships. So it's important to know that every dime counts. Every dime, whether it be a book scholarship for $250, that counts, because that's less money that you have to come up with out of your pocket. So I want every student to think about things about themselves, something unique. If you like to draw, what are your hobbies? And some of you are at an age where you can work. You have companies like Chick-fil-A that have scholarships, Waffle House, McDonald's, just about every major company has scholarships. But if you are a junior, I want you to go ahead and start thinking about that, getting your hours together now. But here's something else I want you to know. Parents, there are different funding sources that you can start for your kids, whether it be there are funding sources with just creating a bank account. Just create a bank account, an external bank account where every time you're paid, you automatically send money to that account, because anything can happen. By automatically sending $100, let's just say $100 a month, do you realize what that will add up to over time? And if you have a 5-year-old, by the time they make it to college, now college tuition costs could go up, but by the time they make it to college, hence you have funds. But here's what I want you to do when you set aside that external account. I want you to get it at a bank that is not physical. So for instance, Capital One has online banking. You can automatically transfer that money, but I don't want you to use the card that comes with it. I want you to just transfer the money. That way you never felt it. If you didn't feel it in your bank account, you don't miss it. So I want you to open, for instance, like for me, I have a credit union here in Atlanta, Delta Community Credit. I opened that account for myself because there aren't a lot of branches. I have to go out of my way to go to their branch. So I did that intentionally so I would not touch that money. I have disciplined myself not to touch the bank card. So I want all parents to do that. Then when your child goes off to college, that bank card you can add their name, and that can be where they have their funds for things they may need, because things happen and you want your child to be able to go to the football game. You want to enjoy college because it's so much fun. I can tell you, I was a professor for 13 years and I enjoyed being a student. I enjoy being a professor and being able to see my students have fun and learn. But I want you to open up that account. And this is not necessarily a savings account, but you can open up a savings account because it draws interest. But most savings accounts don't draw that much. So you really won't make a whole lot. The whole goal is to just have a separate account that you don't touch. And even if you have more than one child, if you have 2, 3, you can make it one account, but just know that you need to split that money, because sometimes it can be a lot to try to balance multiple accounts in multiple places, but just know you're going to split that money by 3. And so it's important for you to know that. Now, when it comes down to those academic scholarships, a lot of schools have money, but since we've gone through this pandemic, some don't. Some schools are dealing with the fact that enrollment was low. And with the whole threat of COVID coming back, schools are having to readjust. But some schools do have funds. So if you know that you're majoring in biology and you know you did very well in high school in biology, have your biology teacher write a letter of recommendation for you. That letter of recommendation will help you, and you can take that to the department head or the dean, and oftentimes they have funds. But if you're going to do that, you got to be able to prove that you're committed to that particular major. Because some schools have it set where if you walk away from a major and they've given you scholarship, just like athletes, sometimes it's like if you walk away, you're not going to be able to keep that scholarship. If you walk away, they could say, well, you're going to end up owing us. So if you know that you want to be a doctor and you know that your major is going to be biology, then you want to stick to biology. I know it can be a tough major, but stick to it. So get with the department head or the department chair and have your teachers, especially if it's, let's say you all go to Alabama State. If you are Alabama resident and you go to a high school, 9 times out of 10, you've got a teacher who knows somebody at the school. Forge those relationships now. If you're a freshman or a sophomore and you know what it is you want to do, what you want to major in, check with the schools. A lot of the colleges have programs for high school students. So I'm going to give you all an example. I taught at Fort Valley State University, which is my alma mater. I taught there for 13 years. So we have programs where we bring in high school students. So I taught in communications, radio, TV, media studies. We have our FAME camp. A lot of our high school students from the surrounding area would come to FAME camp. Those same students would then end up being students at Fort Valley and were eligible for scholarships. If we knew we had money, those would be our first choice and our top picks. Another example at Fort Valley State, and I'm not putting in the plug for Fort Valley State, but if you want to attend a school at Fort Valley State University, we don't charge out-of-state fees for students who live in Alabama. So that's my shameless plug. But for instance, we have a program that allows students to get their master's degree in 5 years. So they'll attend Fort Valley State, and then they will go off to several schools, Penn State, UNLV, Georgia Tech, and then you're eligible to get your master's degree. Now that's called our CDEP program, and that's Cooperative Development Energy Program. So if you want to work in the oil industry, solar, Fort Valley State has a great program, but here's the catch. The CDEP students start in high school. And so if you want to be a CDEP student, you got to start in high school to get to be a part of the program. Now, they do have some students who don't start, but it's a process to get in if you don't start at the high school level. So I strongly suggest, if you know that there's a school you want to attend, find out what programs they have. Because like I said, CDEP starts for 9th graders. So we have students who come in and they come into Fort Valley State, 9th grade, 10th, 11th, 12th. They've got, usually CDEP students have a full ride, and they're actually called CDEP scholars. They have a full ride, and they end up matriculating at a Division I school for their master's degree. So you have to do the research. The number one piece of advice I want to give you is research. Research the organization that you are trying to get monies from. Research the school that you're trying to attend. And it's going to be important to think about certain things about yourself, because those are the things you want to put in those letters, because scholarships are very competitive. They're becoming more and more competitive as more and more students find out about them. But there are some organizations that are struggling to give away money. And it's hard to believe, but there really are large companies as well. You've got Coca-Cola that has scholarships, big companies, small companies. Even look in your local area, your Chamber of Commerce, a lot of organizations like your business women, business leaders, your 100 Black men, all of your Greek letter organizations, all of them have some aspect of their organization that gives out money. And I know that for a fact because I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and we give out scholarships. And as a high school student, I got a scholarship from AKA. So did you have a question, Lady Pam?
No, I was teasing about the AKA. I said, yes, I remember that.
But it's important to know that
Yeah.
there are scholarships. You can, for instance, my chapter here in Atlanta, we have, I'm in the Douglasville chapter, we have a cotillion. That's one way to get your money. And of course, just about all of the chapters, either AKA, Delta, Zeta, all of them in some way have, Sigma Gamma Rho have some type of either a cotillion or a botillion scholarship contest. They are contests that are literally making a video. The state of Georgia, for instance, the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration has a scholarship, and then the state of Georgia does the same thing. And I'm pretty sure Alabama does the same thing. When you're creating videos, there are so many opportunities. Now, the bigger the company and the more that they advertise, the more competition you're going to get, because usually those are opened up nationally. But if you come and do the research, you sit down and do the research about the organizations in your community, it's very likely that you're going to find scholarships. I got a scholarship from a church I didn't even attend. My grandmother's church said, hey, we just want your kids and grandkids to apply. And I got the scholarship from my grandmother's church. I got one from my church as well, but my grandmother's church gave a book scholarship. And that helps. It's important. Parents, check out your jobs. Many jobs offer scholarships. That's important to know, especially if you work in a corporate environment. Fortune 500 companies oftentimes offer jobs. I mean, I know, for instance, in Huntsville, Toyota offers scholarships. And of course, if you're in the military, there are opportunities for you to pay for your child's scholarship, pay for your child's school without them enrolling into ROTC. There's still ways, because some kids are like, I don't want to do that. So my parents did, that's my dad did, this my mom did. But there are still opportunities out there for you and your child. Now, even for graduate students, there are programs. And like I said, I want to sit down and have an interactive, in a perfect world, I'm coming to Birmingham. I already said it, I'm coming.
Right, you coming.
And we're going to sit down and I'm going to show you. I actually think I still have some of my actual letters. I used to give my letters out to students and just say, here, change the information in here to make it yours, but I'll get you started. I've worked with students who have their entire school paid for it. My biggest success is one student is now a PhD, and he started with me in high school, and he has not had to pay a dime. I have another young lady who went off to University of Florida. They went to big schools and haven't had to pay a dime. This is just something I started. Now, let me say this. There are folks who charge a lot of money for something you can do for free. It's literally just getting yourself the time, giving yourself the space to allow the time and think about what you're doing and what you've done. If you are a Girl Scout or a Boy Scout, that's community service. Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, Eagle Scouts have funding. And oftentimes it's just all about asking. And there are so many new ways. There are contests on YouTube, contests on Facebook, on social media that you can apply for. One thing that's gonna be very important is the FAFSA. Parents, this is where you are needed. Mm-hmm. You not completing the FAFSA hurts your children. Mm-hmm. You have to complete the FAFSA. Most states now, especially if a state has any type of lottery, has some type of scholarship. So for instance, here in Georgia, we have the Georgia Lottery. The Georgia Lottery Hope Scholarship pays for students to attend public schools. So if you live in a state that has a lottery, that's funding. States that don't have a lottery oftentimes still have some form of equalization grants and scholarships. Now be mindful, grants are another way to pay for school. You don't have to pay them back. So whether it's called a grant or a scholarship, it is a way to pay for school. And let me say this, coming through this pandemic, so many organizations and businesses have the funds because they got to get rid of the funds that they got from the government. And so they're going to get rid of it. And I hate to use the word get rid of it, but that's what they got to do. They got to use those funds, and those funding is a result of the monies from the federal government. So even work with your states, reach out to your state board of education and your local board of education. I look back, even for me, I got the Fulton County government scholarship. And that was like $1,000, $1,000 here, $1,000 there. It adds up. I didn't pay a dime to go to school. Another thing I did is I got a work study. So a work study is funded through the federal government. So I got a regular check. I worked in the office. I worked in the English office, and I worked on the radio station. So I was able to work in what I wanted to do. I had a radio show and I got paid to do it. So it was somewhat like an internship. And because of that, I also lived off campus. I was able to move into off-campus apartments, and I was also eligible for food stamps. So I got groceries, I got a check, I got a scholarship. So I paid for nothing. And so that was because I prepared myself. A lot of students, now you do have to be eligible. And of course, here's the thing. I grew up in a single parent home, and my mother, like I said, she made too much for me to get a lot of assistance. So I didn't get a lot of assistance. I did get the hope, but that was based on the fact that I had a great GPA. But we couldn't get some of the assistance because I wasn't classified as a student who could be a Title IX student, because my mother made too much. But she also didn't make enough for her to just say, yeah, here's a check for tuition. And so a lot of parents are stuck in that position at the end of the day. And that's one of the things about middle class. The middle class is stuck in the middle because you're not the average parent. Even two income households, especially if you have more than one child that is close in age, that both of them are going to be with or both or others, or when I say others, baby number 3 and number 4 and number 5, especially if they're 3 years apart, 3 to 4 years apart, you're back to back college. And so, yeah, your funds may make you eligible to pay for that one out of pocket, but when you got another child going in right 2 years later, how are you going to spread all of that money out? And I've seen that being a professor. We've had a set of at Fort Valley State, we have a lot of generational kids who their parents went to the school, their sisters and brothers. And so I've seen where you got a brother one child that's a freshman, another one that's a sophomore, and another one that's a senior. And the average parents can't pay for all 3 kids in college at the same time. So one thing I want to definitely stress is, if you are a young person and you have a job, something I want you to do, I want you to take your check and I want you to split it 3 ways. First, you need to tithe off of it. That's first and foremost. I don't consider that us splitting it 3 ways because that's just automatic. So you giving your tithe. If you made $100, you're going to give your 10. Period, point blank. There's no discussion, no negotiation. You're going to give your 10. Okay? So you're going to take that 90. You're going to take 30 and you're going to put it to do whatever it is you need to do, whether it be haircut, hair, the little personal things you need. Lunch. Okay, you set that 30 aside. You're going to put another 30 that's for your overall savings. The last 30 is for school. I don't care if you take 3 envelopes. I don't care if you put it and you give it to your parents. I don't care if you put it in a cash app. I don't care what you do with it. It can be in PayPal. I don't care. But you need to definitely, like I said, you got to tithe off of it first. Then you take that first 30. That's what if you know you like to eat out and you can't get it, if you can't get it out that $30, and oh well, you just stuck like Chuck. But you need to really, and I'm telling you this because when I moved into my home after and I've been in my home for almost 20 years now, because I use the funds that I save from all the scholarships, I'm going to pay off my house early because I set myself up. Economics and wealth is something we don't teach in the Black community. We've learned to live check to check, and we've learned to just make it. Those days are over. I don't have kids, and I'm not about to have any. But here's the thing. I always say, I got a whole bunch of kids out there in the world. So when I get old, somebody's going to take care of me. But my biggest thing is being able to share what I know with other people and learning how to create a life that you want, because I'm someone who's living my dream. I was able to retire at 38, start a business, and I went back to a job last year, but that was only because it was an offer I couldn't refuse, and it's still through my communications business. But I set myself up to retire early, and my mother doesn't work now. I take care of that, and that's based on my business. That's not something to brag about. It's something to tell you so you can do the same thing. But it's all about setting yourself up and understanding needs before wants. And that's one thing that I try to make sure I do. I love to shop. And people are like, oh my gosh, you look so cute. But they don't realize I don't have to have on name brands. And that's what I want to teach you as students. When you all go to college, I see students who want to have on the red bottoms, who want to have hair that's down, and I'm not knocking it, but who wants to have all this hair that costs hundreds of dollars. The bundles cost $100 to get it done, cost $100. It's not worth it. I'd rather you have that money in your bank account than on your back. Because I make great money, but I got on a little jumpsuit, wore to work today that was $20 from Walmart, but nobody knew that. Everybody was like, oh, that's cute. It's not about what the brand, it's about how you wear it. Even down to the school that you attend. Some kids are like, well, hey, that's a small school. It doesn't matter. Go. If you want to attend college, go. College, but let me say this, college is not for everybody. And parents, some of you are not going to like what I'm about to say. If you know that college is not for your child, do not force them to go, because it's going to only be a waste of their time, a waste of money, and it's just something they can't get back. I've seen that happen being in the classroom, where I realized for some students, college is just not for them. And it's something that you have to accept. Even if you went to college or you didn't attend as a parent, don't force your child. And I know it's a great opportunity. It's something great, but let them strive towards what it is that they want. And sometimes you got to let your child fail and be okay with it. It's okay because you got to understand, if you've done everything you're supposed to do, that whole idea of failure won't be a failure. I always tell my team that I work with, and I tell students, we never fail, we only learn.
That's right.
And you've got to let them learn about life. And I know as parents, you want to be mama bear, daddy bear, you want to protect them. But even when it comes down to these scholarships, students, if you want to go to school, you need to be doing the work, not your mom, not your dad. Because I'm telling you, when I was teaching, I didn't want to talk to parents. Because first of all, let me say this, when you go off to college, we don't talk to parents. Mm-hmm. Students have to sign a waiver for us to talk to parents. Mm-hmm. We don't talk to you. I know, and some parents, well, I'm paying for it. Okay, that's great. But I talk to the student. Mm-hmm. And so you have to understand how this works. You have to sign a form. That student has to say it's okay to talk to the parents. But it's important as students, if you want these funds, you got to go after them. And another thing, once you get in school, funds are still available. Like I remember I told you about the sororities and the fraternities. You've got Mr. Ivy. That's a scholarship. That's the AKAs have Mr. Ivy. You've got Miss Purple and Gold for the Omegas. that scholarship money. And even if you are in graduate school, when I went off to work on, I got my master's and I started working on a doctorate, and I was like, oh, I don't want to pay for this. I hadn't paid any other time. I reached out to the school and I said, what do you have? What funds do you have? I got a scholarship. And so finding the money is really up to you. And when we have our workshop, I'm going to go over a list that I'm going to make available to Lady Pam. She can distribute that list. It's a list that, now let me say this, the list changes. I don't have time to go back and look through every single scholarship, but I do keep a running list. And like I said, don't pay for this. Don't pay for it. And with me, what I do, I work with the churches or the organizations. I get a love offering. So I'm not in this to make money. I want to see kids do great things with their lives. And that's the biggest blessing for me, is seeing students who, especially when I have students who struggled through school, and I've seen that, who have really and truly changed their lives based on me helping them, based on the help they get from the churches and the organizations that I work with. But I want you all to really and truly think about some of the things that I've said. I know I've said a lot in this time, and Lady Pam, you tell me when my time's up. I know I've talked about a lot, but whenever I work with an organization, I like to get a feel and talk to you and kind of give you a feel of what to expect, knowing that you need to have some form of a calendar, and that's what I have, a planner, or use your phone. Make sure that you're keeping up with deadlines, the FAFSA deadline, the deadline for, I heard a mom the other day saying her son is going off to college and he has missed every deadline. Therefore, he has missed the scholarships. He missed the scholarships because he missed every deadline. She said, as a matter of fact, they're supposed to move in next week, and she didn't even know. Now, parents, when I say make the kids responsible, I told the mom, I said, now some of this is on YouTube. I don't mean you just give it all to them. Keep up with it. Have some type of planner or calendar where you're writing down the dates. You're keeping up with move-in date is this day. Sign-in date is this day, especially if your child is going into college for the first time. It's their first year. They usually have orientation where the freshmen come earlier. And that's another thing. If you know that your child's going to live on campus, make sure you have that available. And that's going to be through those scholarships. Because here's the thing. Some scholarships don't cover room and board. And room and board is the bulk of tuition. And most people don't know that. Feeding students and keeping them housed is the biggest part of tuition. So you may get some scholarships, especially those academic. It only pays for the academic portion of tuition. It may not pay for room and board. And then they're going to need things like soap, toothpaste, laundry detergent. And speaking of laundry detergent, make sure all your kids know how to wash clothes. Amen. When they go off to college. And at least make sure they know how to grill some cheese, okay, parents, when they go off to college. But it's important to understand that you have scholarships and you get that extra money, it can pay for those things you need. And one thing as well, when you get your money, you graduate, how people like Chata Spice, I'm not going to get, Foot Locker full of stuff. I'm going to say, baby, here goes some money. Okay, do what you need. Save that money. Save that money. Don't go out and spend that money on a whole bunch of unnecessary things that you don't need in that dorm room. I have seen kids show up for the first day of school, freshmen moving into the dorm with 75-inch TVs. And I'm like, what you need that for? And that is not an exaggeration. Literally, it's a dorm. It is not your home. It's not going to be your permanent home. I know they got these nice dorms with these cute like apartment settings and real nice, real swanky, better than what I had in college until I moved off campus. But make sure that when you're coming in focused. Don't spend money on these huge TVs. Don't spend all this outrageous money. Yes, it's okay to have a cute room, but I have seen some rooms that I'm like, honey, this is not your permanent living arrangements. I don't want you to get so comfortable that you become a super senior, where you have been in school long enough to have gotten a PhD and you still working on your bachelor's degree. So that's something I want you all to understand. Don't get so comfortable that you don't want to leave and you don't want to take the leap of faith and taking the next step. And I'm going to go back to even those kids who don't want to attend college, traditional college. And let's say you want to go to a junior college, do it. Some kids are not ready coming right out of high school for a 4-year institution. And I have people sometimes who look down on trades. And there are scholarships for students who want to go to a 2-year, to a junior college and to a technical college. Right now, students who are graduating from technical colleges are graduating with little to no debt, and they have jobs that start off at $50 an hour. So I have people who look down, well, it's not a 4-year degree. Welders and plumbers, and we all know, because some of us have had to call plumbers before. Welders, plumbers, electricians. My AC has gone now. It's back on now. But when I had to get a new AC, that was $6,000. Okay, they make great money. So I don't want you to think because if your child doesn't want to go to a 4-year institution that you're going to look down and like, well, it's not a 4-year institution. Because at the same time, you got folks who go to 4-year institutions who are paying debt into their 40s and 50s. I remember being in high school and I had teachers who still had debt and they were in their 40s. And I'm like, you got your degree 20 years ago and you still got debt? We don't want to live that lifestyle. That lifestyle is not cute. Debt is not cute. That's right. Now if you're gonna have debt, having student loan debt is a positive debt, but it can be a lifetime debt. So remember that. I do have a portion of a loan from when I went to get the doctorate, and then I changed my mind, and I was like, I can make more money without this, but it's not much. So I literally, since COVID, they won't even take my money. And those are some other things to think about. There's a chance that some loans are going to be wiped away. So you have to think about that for some of the parents. It's not for the kids, because I don't want you to get anybody's loan if you don't have to. If you have to get a loan that will not start accruing interest until you graduate. Do not get a loan that starts accruing interest on day one. Because if you get that loan day one of your freshman year, it's going to continue to accrue. And that's how a lot of our teachers that I had still had loans 20 years later, because those loans start accruing interest on day one. You want loans, if you have to, you want one that starts after you graduate and has a grace period. If you have to get a loan now, a lot of times the Parent Plus loan is what is pushed to parents. Parents, if you have to get a Parent Plus loan, make sure you are looking at the stipulations of that loan. When does the interest start and what is the interest? Try to get loans with single-digit interest. There have been ways to get loans through your credit card companies that have zero interest. If you can do that, that is what I suggest, because oftentimes what really messes folks up is the amount of interest that is accrued. So I want you to really and truly think about that. So for instance, when I started my doctorate and then I stopped, that little bit of loan that I do have, it's slowly being wiped away because I work in law enforcement. So hence why you don't see me worry. It's being wiped away because of what I do. Although I'm not a police officer, I still work in law enforcement. So it can be wiped away. So those are for you to understand if you work in certain forms of government. So, and then I want students to also think about this. If you have a loan, if you have to get a loan, look at careers and jobs where they will pay your loan off. So for instance, here in Atlanta, we have loan forgiveness programs for police officers we have programs where if police officers want to go to school, they give a stipend to help pay for your tuition. So look at jobs that have loan reimbursement, because sometimes you just can't get around not getting a loan. Because you may go to, Lady Pam mentioned Yale. You might go to a Yale and then you can't get enough scholarships. And I will say, some of your private, historically Black colleges and universities are more expensive than schools. I always push state schools, and I know some people are not with it, but I push state schools because oftentimes they're much more affordable. And I don't want you to be stuck with debt, because you've got people who are doing great things who went to small schools. And then for me, like I said, I started off at Clark Atlanta University. And I actually ended up leaving Clark Atlanta University because someone who worked there took out a loan in my name. Yes, I still have the letter that I wrote to the vice president of financial aid. So I ended up transferring from my dream school to a state school. And it is something that I don't regret. I love being at Fort Valley State University. It was in the country, but that is okay. I still ended up following my dreams. And just literally hindsight being 2020, I probably would have had some form of debt had I stayed at Clark Atlanta, because the tuition was so much more. So I just want you all to think about that when it comes down to it. And just think about your goals and align yourself with other students who want greatness like you. And I want you to also get to know your counselors. Your counselors are the first set of people who get scholarship information. Get to know your counselors, talk to your teachers, get to know people. Talking to folks will help you. I literally just recently helped a young lady with a program that's being offered with careers and jobs, and even things like coding. Learn how to do something different, learn how to code. Take your hobbies, do something different, because you never know how you can get funding. You can start as young as 5, even before that. There are scholarship programs where you can start. But and it's never too late. If you are a mom and you want to go back to school, guess what? There are scholarships for that as well. And the stipulations are usually the same. They're going to have to write a letter, a narrative of some type, to have to tell them what you do, why you deserve it. And always prepare for a why you deserve it scholarship letter. In your letter, you're going to say why you deserve it. And you can say, hey, my parents aren't in a position to pay for me to go to college, but I'm a good student. Even if you didn't make all A's and B's, if you got someone who can speak to your character and speak to the person that you are, that will help you. Because we understand, and people know that not everybody is an A student. When I was a professor, I always said I like C students, because I can take a C student who has a great attitude. I'd rather have a C student who has a great attitude than an A student who has a bad attitude. So it's just up to you. I'm not gonna hold y'all, because I can talk about this all day. Lady Pam, I'm looking at my clock, looking at the clock, because I enjoy this. I really do. I love helping people and students, and seeing people flourish, helping business owners, because I'm a business owner. Because y'all are talking to somebody who walked away from a 6-figure income job 3 years ago. Actually, 2017, that was more than 3 years ago, huh? Almost, give or take.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I walked away, and I love helping people and showing them things that they need to better themselves. So we're gonna schedule another day. I'm gonna come back, and if the COVID, as I call it, if it acts right, I'm coming. If I got to have masked up and everything, we lights all the room down. We're gonna sit down, have a good workshop, get you ready, get you out the door, ready to get that money, because getting scholarships is like a treasure hunt. If you follow the roadmap, you will get to the reward. And that's my whole spiel. I'm turning it back over to you.
This was good. I could listen to you talk about this all day. I mean, this great. I mean, the tips for parents, the tips for students. I mean, it was great. So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna put out there for people who are interested. Now, let me ask you, what's the age group? Because you and I kind of talked about this before. I've always heard that, you need to start early. So I'm thinking, oh, maybe we need to start elementary age. So, what's the age group of those who need to attend this workshop? And Birmingham Bible Church will put it together. We'll get it together. We'll get with Shada, and see what day would be good so that we can do a one-on-one so that you're doing the work, you're teaching us to do the research. We got laptops open, we're engaged. So what's the age group? How early should these attendees be?
I would say the best age group because is going to be the high school, right at ninth grade, only because the middle and elementary and little kids aren't going to sit still. They're not going to do the work. They're usually not going to sit still to go through it. But even you can do some middle school kids who are really focused and who want to come in and really learn. So middle school is definitely high school and college as well. But middle school, if they're going to be prepared to work, learn, we start writing the letters.
Right.
We go through the entire process of getting them ready for the scholarships, getting them ready to sit down. Because you got so many different options and what places. There are places now that just websites that just have scholarships.
Right.
And I try to make sure we avoid anything that there's a cost associated with it. Because why am I going to pay you when I need money and I don't have money to put out? Right. But I would definitely say for the workshop, middle school, but definitely high school and college.
Okay. Because we do have, and I'm thinking of some middle schools we have even at our church, they are so focused. They already know what they want to do in life. And so I know they will do their due diligence. And so we'll put that out there. And just kind of with COVID in Alabama, our numbers are going up. I'm sure it's like that kind of everywhere. So we will have to maybe even do a live, but it will be a private one for
Okay.
students to be on there. Parents have to be on there. So parents and students are on there together. For those of you who are interested in that, I need you to, a lot of you have my cell number so you can text me, but email me, Lady Pam at tcowi.org. So Lady Pam at tcowi.org. If you want to get all this great information that Ms. Spikes talked about, how to look at those websites, where to go to get the funding. And then also for those who are I guess want masters, they can attend as well.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Those who are your older students, your graduate students. So please let us know, Lady Pam at tcowi.org. I get with Miss Spikes and she'll give me her schedule and then we can go from there. Just great information. I mean, a lot of this we kind of figured out on the fly. We have two older kids. We got two younger ones coming up. And I like what you said about that coding because we have one of them who loves the video game, loves Minecraft. So we put him in a STEAM camp. So
yes.
I'm like, look, if you're gonna be playing it, you're gonna know how to build it. So so no,
Any hobbies,
yeah,
hobbies can turn into money. Literally.
yeah,
I mean, I told y'all that my paparazzi was a hobby. It turned into money for me. But hobbies can turn into money. Even for scholarships. I had hobbies. I used to volunteer at nursing homes. I got money for that. For something I did because my great grandfather was in a nursing home. I used to go volunteer. I ended up getting money. So there are so many ways to get money for scholarships. It's like, for instance, if you have a deceased parent, there are scholarships for that. If you have an incarcerated parent, there are scholarships for that. If you're left-handed, so many. You want to work in, especially in fields that African Americans aren't known to work in. We're popping now, y'all. So people want to give us money.
yeah. Yes, we have a daughter who goes to school at one of the colleges here in town, and when COVID came, I mean, they were giving her money. I was like, praise Jesus. But
Yes.
but you're right. You're right. They're giving us funds, and so, man, this was great. This was awesome. I learned a lot. Our daughter, who's in the other room, I think she was over there taking notes too. So so
Go for it.
this was great. So I'm definitely going to get with you. We'll reach out and listen. this is to anybody who's listening. It's not just to those who, attend Birmingham Bible Church. If you are listening to this and you want to be a part of it, please email me at ladypam@tcowi.org, okay? So that we can all get this information together. You can share it with others as well. And so make sure you
Yes.
give me that information. Send me your information. This is for BBC Worldwide. I don't care if you live in Spain, if you live in Florida, please email me, ladypam@tcowi.org, so that all of our children can get the education they need without the stress of
Yes.
paying back loans and all that good stuff. You great information about saving that. And I'm gonna say that, and I'm be done. Just saving that scholarship money. I wish I would have done that. I told my husband I went to school in Augusta, Medical College of Georgia. I said, had I known, I knew the masters came every year. I would have bought a house. I would have rented it out every year. I said, what was I thinking? But it's stuff like that. No one told me about, business and how to have that particular mindset. But that was great. That was good. And we need to be entrepreneurs. So thank you so much. I
You're welcome.
appreciate this. We would definitely be in touch on a at a later date.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank
And
you so
thank
much.
y'all for having me.
Oh, definitely. Thank you so much. See you later, BBC Worldwide. Okay, bye bye.